What is good, Sixer sickos? Thanks for tuning in into DFJ Hoops. I'm your host Andre. Let's react to the 76ers versus the Atlanta Hawks now. If you enjoy these videos, please make sure you hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and also don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Let's get this started. So, the 76ers take on the Atlanta Hawks in downtown Atlanta at the State Farm Arena. And of course, or obviously, Joel Embiid was ruled out of this game for knee swelling, and hopefully he's good to go on Friday because the Sixers definitely need Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP. And the Sixers are also missing Robert Covington, who's also out for for an injury. The Hawks are also missing some players. They're missing Clint Capella, their center, and they were missing DeAndre Hunter, who's from the Philly area. Shout out to him. I really enjoy his game, and he's a good defensive player as well. Now, in this first quarter, the game plan for the Atlanta Hawks was to attack the basket and get into the paint more often than not. And that's the strategy if you want to beat the Sixers without Embiid, because the Sixers have no actual rim protector out there. And Paul Reed also fouls a lot. So if you drive to the basket, you have a chance of converting or at least getting to the free throw line because Paul Reed is a foul machine. And Mo Bamba doesn't really give you anything in terms of defense or some level of rim protection. Now he did give you three blocks, but don't get fooled on those three blocks because more times than not, he's not really doing anything. So the Hawks came out and they were attacking the basket, and Onyeka Okongwu, I hope I said his name right. Shout out to him. He was being a bully down low, and he was getting a lot of lobs, a lot of alley oops. He was just living in the paint. I think he scored like 11 of their 18 points in the paint for them, and it was just a good strategy. And Paul Reed obviously fouled out, so Nick Nurse had to bring in Mo Bamba, and the Sixers didn't really. Nobody really had it going in the first quarter. I mean, Maxey did hit two threes. Yeah, he had two threes in the first quarter, and then D'Anthony Melton. I mean, shout out to D'Anthony Melton. He was sidelined for a few games, but he's finally back. He made his 3 pointer, his first shot of the game, and I think other guys, Tobias Harris did, chip in. Marcus Morris also came off the bench and gave you some level of offense. But Nick Nurse started Nico. Now he usually does this. He started Nico. He usually starts Nico on the other team's guard to kind of give them a different form of coverage because Nico is very. I mean, he's 6'8", with the long wingspan. So he puts him on those little guards to kind of throw them off guard a little bit. But I did love his defense on Trey Young. And Trey Young, the Sixers did a fantastic job on Trey Young defensively because Trey Young was only like 36% from the field, something like that. And yeah, he was really being bothered by Batum. And then Jaden Springer also came into this game. I was glad that he played Jaden Springer. Now, Nick Nurse has said this, and he said that Jaden Springer will get some minutes, but he definitely has to make shots. I mean, it depends on if he makes shots. That's how he will get his playing time. And Jaden Springer can give you, he gives you good defense, but offensively, that's where he struggles. So he came off the bench and he was doing a pretty decent job on Trey Young, and I think he was like what Trey Young was. He only shot one for nine when being guarded by Jaden Springer, so he was doing his job. So the second quarter comes around, and Marcus Morris really led this team in the second quarter. I mean, he was making shots, and I give Max a lot of credit too because he was just driving and dish, drive, swing, and dish to Marcus Morris. I was about to say Marcus Smart, but and he was getting his three. He was getting his threes to fall. He was getting into the mid range, and he got to the free throw line a couple times in the second quarter. But I want to say this about Marcus Morris, and everybody knows this. He's terrible defensively, so you can only hope that he'll give you something offensively because if he's not giving you anything offensively, then forget it because defensively he's going to be absolute trash. I mean, he doesn't even box out. He gets rebounds from time to time, but boxing out is an issue for him. I don't know why, but he did carry the Sixers in the second quarter, and Tobias Harris was also, you know, giving us something in terms of scoring wise. And he did get you some offensive rebounds and gave the Sixers some second chance opportunities. And the Sixers did get fouled on a lot of those, and they were getting to the free throw line. And Maxi was also getting to the basket, getting some of his layups, and making some teardrops or running floaters. And Maxi's so fast, and once he gets into the lane, you're pretty much cooked because if he gets his floaters dropping, it's gonna be a terrible night for the defender. And yeah, shout out to Maxi for being as aggressive as he was. Now this game in particular, I didn't really like Kelly Oubre. Now, Kelly Oubre did have a good game against the Utah Jazz. I mean, I think he was the only person who was being aggressive in terms of going to the basket and applying rim pressure. But in this game in particular, he wasn't really doing that. I mean, he was 3 for 11 from the field, and that has some terrible fouls. I mean, if you foul somebody on a 3-point shot and you foul somebody at the basket, those are some terrible fouls. And Kelly Oubre was a culprit of it. He fouled DeJounte Murray shooting a three, and Murray made that three and gave him an opportunity to get to the free throw line and make one more. And at the end of the game, he also fouled Jalen Johnson, he was literally at the basket. Why foul him? And he made his shot, got to the free throw line, and converted. But overall, the Sixers didn't really have a lot of trouble generating offense because the first 3 quarters they scored out 30 plus, and those are efficient 30 pluses. And in the third quarter, uh, Maxi and Tobias Harris just carried this team in the third quarter, and you did have some contributions from Patrick Beverly. I mean, he had that running floater that he made in the third, and Nico was playing some good defense on Trey Young, and like I said earlier, they really bothered Trey Young with his. He really bothered him with his length, and Jaden Springer was also taking turns on him. Patrick Beverly was also guarding him, but DeJounte Murray was going off for the Atlanta Hawks in the third quarter. I mean, he was just it seemed like nobody could guard him in the third. And Maxi and Tobias had to step up for the Sixers because the Sixers would have definitely lost in the third quarter if they didn't step up. I mean, DeJounte Murray was he had a three, like the three I said on Kelly Oubre, and then he drove to the basket, pump faked and got a shot to go and had an and one, something like that. But the fourth quarter is what really got me excited in this game. And the fourth quarter was all Maxi. And this is where I have to show Maxi a lot of love. Now, even though the Sixers lost this game, Tyrese Maxey was so phenomenal in the fourth quarter. I mean, nobody was hitting. I mean, it was just him and Tobias Harris, to be honest with you, that really gave the Sixers spark plug in the fourth quarter. I mean, Tyrese Maxey was being a dog, and he had that back to back dunks. I mean, two-handed slam, and I was like, dang, I didn't even know Maxey could do that. And then he created off the dribble and completely lost Dejounte Murray, and then he made that three. And the Sixers, in my opinion, should have won this game, but they get to the last play, and Maxey was driving to the basket, and he clearly got hacked on his right arm, but the officials didn't call the foul, saying that it wasn't enough contact or whatever. And the Sixers didn't even have a challenge at that point. And even if they did, they would not have been able to challenge that call because I don't think you can challenge a non-call. But the Sixers should have definitely won this game, and Maxey was just sensational in the fourth quarter. Now, even though the Sixers lost, I'm still happy about what Maxey did. Even though he was scoring, he did get into he picked up like what 3 fouls in the fourth quarter, and it was just terrible to watch this game go into overtime. And then in overtime, Maxey had one of his shots. It was a turnaround fadeaway shot on Jalen Johnson, and it was a difficult shot. And Tobias Harris was also he also had a running floater in the paint, and Tyrese Maxey ended up fouling out in this game, which I thought was terrible by the officials. Why would you even call that? I mean, it was a Trey Young drive. Now Trey Young, he flops a lot. And I mean, 2 years ago they implemented this rule that was going to stop these flops, but he still gets these flopping calls. I don't know why. He was driving to the basket, and Maxi was, I mean, he was moving with him, but I mean, he tried to, he bumped him a little bit, but it wasn't really that obvious to, give him a foul call. But they called him for a sixth foul, and he fouls out. And at that point, I knew the Sixers were going to lose. And even though Tobias Harris was, well, he was going off, he had like what 32 points at that time, 32 points and 10 rebounds. I didn't think that Tobias was going to lead or will the Sixers to a victory. And if anybody else thought that, then you're just you're just lying to yourself, because Tobias Harris is not going to do that for you. I mean, after Maxey fouled out, there was a play he drove to the basket with his left, and he went up so weak and just got blocked so effortlessly by Okongwu, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much game over. And yeah, that was it for the Sixers. Maxey had 35 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, something like that. Um, and Tobias did give you 32 points, but the Sixers really need Joel Embiid out there, and without Embiid, the Sixers really have difficulty winning games. And it's clear as day. If you watch the Sixers without Embiid, especially defensively in the paint, it's just horrible. Now, the Sixers and the Hawks did end up having 64 points in the paint, but if you had watched this game from the start, you could clearly tell that the Sixers were missing Joel Embiid. So hopefully he's good to go against the Sixers play the Sacramento Kings on Friday night. So hopefully he's ready to go. Hopefully that knee swelling is he's able to push through it. At this point, that's all you could do. There's a lot of guys that are hurt, and I think that Embiid could definitely push through injuries. And yeah, hopefully he plays, and hopefully the Sixers can win, because the Sixers have lost their last 3 games. They lost to the Knicks, lost to the Jazz, and tonight they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. So that's all I have for this game tonight. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and leave your thoughts. What you thought about this game? Was there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you were disappointed of? I mean, you can leave your thoughts right down there in the comment section. But until next time, peace.